Hello, this is Curtis Crowe, and you are watching Crowe Studios. Today we have a tutorial for you on how to brighten up your images and even preserve some of the details that may have been lost. Now, a little disclaimer before we begin. There are multiple things that affect your image and why it's too dark or why you can't improve it as significantly as you want to. But there is more than one way to skin a cat, and I'm not saying my way is the best way. I'm just showing you a method that I used in order to get this image from this brightness to this brightness while still preserving details in her eyes, her hair, and her clothes. Now, last thing is, I will say that when you do push an image to its max like this, unfortunately, there are some splotchiness, there are some detail loss. No matter what, you can't make it a 100% perfect image. But you can take an image that was previously unusable, like this image, and turn it into something that you can save and show people and still be proud of. Alright, so let's get started. So the first step I'm going to do is actually snapshot this image. Now, if you don't know what the snapshot tool is, it's a great tool. What it does is it allows me to take all the current settings I have, from brushes to slider settings to anything, and it allows me to save it right here into first edit. Let's just call it the first edit. And then we create it. So now even if I change everything, let me see here, change everything, and then go back over here, I can click it and it'll bring it right back. So that is a handy tool. So we're going to go ahead and reset this. And I'm going to start over from the beginning. Now, I haven't edited this image in a very long time, so I forgot what some of the settings exactly were, but we're going to go through this again, and we are going to get a really nice image out of it. And heck, it might even be better than the first one. Now, let's see here. What do we want for brightness? We still want it to be at least fairly close to proper exposure. So that's technically the closest we can get to proper exposure, but it looks a little too horrendous, so we're going to take it back a little bit, and I'm going to stick with 3.5. And just for now. And I'm going to start off with my super secret preset that I love. Homemade preset. Now, it looks like she's an Oompa Loompa right now, but it did a lot more to the image than just that, and we are going to continue moving forward, and trust me, it will look better. And the original image, although she is overly tan, I think I'm going to cut it back a little bit in this particular image. So we want to bring up what bright details we have. So we want to increase highlights, whites. That's a way to make the image look brighter without actually bringing up necessarily the blacks. Let's see here. So let's bring down this for now. And we're going to keep this down to more of a 3. Oop. And let's see here. Hello? Oh, my battery lost connection. There we go. Okay. So, I think, let's see here. We want to keep some details dark, because that's what's going to bring in a lot of the sharpness that you're missing, is the contrast between light and dark. So we want to definitely have some of that there. Let's go a little weaker there. And let's go a little weaker here. And let's go a little stronger here. Okay, picture still looks horrendous, but we're going to work on it. So let's see here. We're going to up this quite a bit. Now, if you see, there's some splotchiness here. If we bring up the color dial a lot, you'll see a lot of the splotches, although are still there. That's noise, that's grain. You can't really get rid of it, but if you look closely, and I want you to, boom, that's 0 color fixing. The default for Lightroom's 25, and then 100%'s right there. Okay, there we go. You gotta wait for the computer to update. And although you can still see a tiny bit, there's a huge difference between what was and what is. No. So that fixes a lot of that. Now we're using the this tool quite a bit, bringing it up to a larger value than we normally want to, in order to smoothen out that background and make the image a little less grainy. So what we're going to do to combat that is we're going to hold down our Alt button, and we're going to use this masking tool, because we only want the main detail sharpened. We don't want any of the soft bokeh to be sharpened. So in order to get the main detail, we're going to want to up masking quite a bit. Let's go around here. No matter what, your bokeh balls are going to get sharpened because there's just contrast there. So let's see here. What can we do about color? You could use the treatment tool. Pop it right there. That doesn't look right. Let's pop it right here. Oh, that looks a little better. And you can kind of toy around with this tool until you get to just about the right spot. Now that makes her dress look perfect, but the background's not spot on. Now you could use manual brushes in order to kind of find the right spot. But if we don't find the right spot, I'm going to have to go back. So it's not a perfect tool. But sometimes it can get you really dang close. You see here. You can also look at these values. Like there's too much magenta according to this. So we still want to add more magenta because the computer, in my opinion, is a little wrong. And we're going to go to -4. And then we're going to bring this to 4,500. See what the changes are. That isn't too far from what we had. So let's go a little bit lower. Let's try 3,800. This part is just a trial and error. So I kind of like that. Let me just compare it. So it's about 1,000 more on the warmness, and it still wants to go low on the magenta. Let's go back to, it's really tough to say. This is all personal preference, and that's kind of the beauty of editing. It's all about your personal preference. And personally, I think she's still got a little too much cyan in her. So we'll go about there, and I'm going to stop messing with it. Her dress looks great. The image is already starting to look fantastic. But there is some details that we have to fix. So if we look at her face, there are some details that are kind of washed out a little bit. So in order to bring them out, we're going to zoom on in, and we are going to zoom in quite a bit. So once the computer catches up, there we go. Let's see here. We want to get very, very close in there. And we're going to add more details to her eyeballs. Now, you want to be super, super careful about this. Because if you go too much detail or too much whiteness in the eyes, it'll look very scary very quickly. And it's something that's super easy to accidentally go crazy on without realizing it. So let's try that. We can always take it back a little bit if we don't like it. And you want to get all the way up into the corners because we want that effect everywhere. And we added a little bit here. Let me see here. Add to the white part, add to the white part. And we continue to add. And we go over here. So boom. And let's delete this to see what the difference is. See, it's subtle, but it makes a difference. And when we zoom out, you can see the difference, even though that spot keeps showing up. You can see it in our other eye, there's a difference, which is good, but we're not done yet. And we even might want to intensify it a little bit more. Because if you can tell, this spot's like perfect, and this is not so much. So we're going to have to tweak that a little bit. Maybe even add a second brush. Oh, see, that is good. And you want to make sure you don't accidentally hit too much of the other details around the eyes, because that can affect it. And let's zoom out, make sure it's not too crazy. Alright, So we'll stop there for now. We can always come back to it because I really want to add a little bit of clarity to the eyes. Now, this is actually going to affect the eyeliner, the makeup. This is going to bring in more detail because we're going to harden those details in there. So we're going to go, let's try there. And you want to be careful because you don't want this to technically be a black brush, but you do want it to definitely bring in a little bit more sharpness here. And you typically want to use a smaller brush for this because, like I said, you're trying to add that detail in there. If you use too big of a brush, it'll just look like a blur over our eyes. All right, and then let's take a look at that again. Delete it. Bring it back in. All right, that made a little bit of a difference. So now let's do it to this eyeball. So we're just going along the eyeliner, bring that eyeliner detail back in there, and it'll look a little bit too much sometimes when you're really close in with makeup, but typically, but not always, but typically, makeup's one of the ones you can go a little bit more crazy on. Because when you zoom all the way out, the eyeliner is what brings a lot of that detail in the eyes. And look at that. That already looks a lot better. So let's zoom back in. So we're not done yet. We want to add some of that detail now into the eyebrows. So we're going to bring this brush a little bit bigger and darken it. And you only want to go through the center. If you want, you can clean it up even more by trying to make the grain around the eyebrows a little bit softer. You can also play with that masking tool in order to make a difference too for how much it sharpens the image, the masking and the sharpening. Alright, so that's a little extra detail around the eyes, and we're still going to add just a little bit more. I like going a little bit more crazy with this. So like I said, this is the detail, and when you're zoomed out, it makes a huge, huge difference. Oop. And we want to make sure that center of that eyeballs are really, really black. And Lightroom actually comes with a iris enhance, which is meant for eyeballs. Now, it doesn't always work very well with girls with brown eyes. Sometimes you have to tweak the settings a bit with brown eye girls. And again, this is something we want to do in very minor amounts because it's going to bring a little bit of the coloring back into our eyes. And we don't want too much, otherwise she'll look like an alien from distance. Oh, have you guys ever seen Stargate SG-1? They'll look like the Goa'uld. Let's see here. With their glowing eyes. We're going to add just a pinch more. Just a pinch. Let's add that pinch. Ooh, might have went too crazy on that. Let's go back. Remember, you can always go back. You're not committed to anything at all. And if we go too much, we'll use that slider tool in order to bring it on back. Alright, that's looking really good. Alright, so the only other thing is I would not get rid of the lines down here, nor would I sharpen them. They are kind of like bags under the eyes. If you sharpen them, they'll look a little out of place. But if you get rid of them completely, they may also still look out of place. So if they're a little bit, if they were a little bit darker, I would go back and try to use a clone tool with a faded clone tool in order to soften it, but never want to get rid of those lines underneath the eyes completely because that doesn't look natural. So now that we go to the teeth whitening, and let's see here, we're going to scrub these teeth clean. Now, because everything's so over exaggerated in these settings as far as like exposure, highlight, shadows, and whatnot, it's probably going to turn out obnoxiously white, which even when we're zoomed in, it looks like it's already obnoxiously white. So we're just going to do our best to stay within the lines. Ooh. And we are going to go like this. And now we are going to check our masking. Oops, sorry. Let's see here. We want to make sure we didn't get any missed spots, but we also don't want to hit the gums either. There we go. That looks like a winner. So now we take away the masking. And we zoom out. Oh, sorry. We zoom out. All right. Yes. The teeth look like that it's a little too much. So we're going to go in. They look great. And you might even like them like that. But I like them to be slightly more realistic, you could say. I like them to be bright and white, but I don't want them to be to the point where they look fake. Oh, that is a second brush. Click here. And we looks like I kind of got like a thin spot right here. Oop. See that little bit on the lip right there? We're going to have to remove that. So let's continue, let's continue, let's continue. We want it to make sure it's even. Gotta make sure these brushes are even. We're going to go to the eraser tool right here. And we're just going to get right there, and that's going to look really good. And now that we've lessened the effect a little bit, when we zoom on out, it should look a lot more natural. We wait for the computer to sharpen, and that looks pristine, but still fairly realistic. So we're going to stick with that. And as you can already tell, we can see a lot more details. Those eyes look so much better. The eyebrows look great. The teeth look fantastic. Now, if we want to go as far as using the clarity tool for a little bit more around the lips, let's see how that looks. I don't remember if I did that for this particular image. Now, clarity tool, you don't want to go crazy on. Usually, it doesn't make people look too great, but sometimes it does do a good job at enhancing the image if done right. So we're going to add a little bit here, a little bit here in order to bring those details back into the nose. And let's see here. I want to go again with that brush. I want to go slightly higher. I just want to hit this bottom lip right here. Let's see here. It's going to do it for me. Just really darken in that edge. And this is going to give her a little bit more realistic looking lips. Because again, a lot of that detail was missed. Alright, let's zoom on out. And we wait, because I'm running a bunch of programs in the background. And I like it. Let's see here. I don't know if I'd go that heavy, but you know what? I think I'm going to. And you can always use the skin softening tool if you're trying to find like a good balance, or you can again use that slider like I did with the teeth. Skin softening, and we're just going to hit just right here. Just right between, oh, that is not going to work. I don't think that's going to work one bit. We're not going for a painting look, so I don't think that's going to work, but let's take a look at it. Yeah, that's not going to work at all. But that still looks great. So let's stick with that. And let's see here. We want to bring a little bit, because she has brown hair, not black hair. It's getting to the point of borderline black. So now we're going to use another custom brush to bring that hair detail out. And this Mac is still pretty new to me. I don't have a lot of my custom brushes on here yet. So I'm going to have to improvise with bringing up here. And that should bring in sharpness. All right, let's try that. Now, for every image, you can tweak any brush you want. Now, let's take a look. Does that really even do anything? I'm not seeing a difference. Is this brush even working? Yes, this brush is definitely working. All right, so let's take a look. Oh, we went highlights. I meant to go shadows. Okay. That will make a big difference. Let's take a look-see here. Oh yeah, right there. And we still need to edit it a bit, so let's go. I wouldn't normally suggest doing exposure for hair, but let's take a look at it. And then let's go. Don't want that much. We might want that much. There we go. Now our hair looks brown. You can still see the detail in it. Let me see if I can pull out just a tad bit more detail with the surrounding area. Oh, let me do a 1-to-1. Let's see here. All right, so what we are going to do is, I like the way it looks, I really do, but I'm really wondering about the color. Oh yeah, okay. What I like to do, if I'm not sure if something's going to work, is I like to over-exaggerate it first and see if it's even in the right direction, because obviously magenta's not going to be in the right direction. She now has purple hair. So, go back though, and that's looking a lot more like brown, and I want that. I don't want red, I want brown. So, let's take a look-see here, and let's even bring this back a little bit. Now it's looking a little green, so let's bring this up. And we're just trying to find that beautiful balance. And that's looking a lot more like brown than what it was before, and I think I like it. I think I like it a lot. Zoom out. Okay. Alright. So, the image already looks 100 times better. I mean, we're looking at the teeth, we're looking at the eyes, we're looking at the hair, the background. The bokeh balls look beautiful. The model herself, or the Disney talent, looks beautiful herself, Bella. Now, the only thing else I'd really do is, because we did the exposure so well, or not the exposure, the temperature, the treatment of the colors so well, her outfit looks great to me. Now, some may argue that her dress isn't pure white. So you could go through and just desaturate some of that dress. So, or that outfit. So, what we would do in that situation, and this is just kind of a side tutorial, is desaturate. Go 35. Looks fine to me. And let's go 0.1. And let's go 15. And that's just me guessing some numbers. Again, I don't have my brushes presets still on here. But if you look at that, that looks a lot more like white on my screen. I don't know about your screen, but that is a heck of a lot closer to white. And then you just hit up her belt. And this is just me doing it very quickly because you guys don't got all day for me to do all the fine details. And this tutorial is more about methodology. So we go through here, and we can already see a huge difference. And we brush, and we brush, and we brush, and we brush, and we brush. And you don't want to go too big on the edges. You want to go smaller, because if you see, there's two circles in there. The first circle means 100% of that brush effect is going to be there. And then that second circle, if you're familiar with the feather tool, it's a lot like the feather tool. Is between the inner circle and the outer circle, there's X amount of pixels that are going to fade away as it gets closer and closer to the edge. So that is what that does, and it allows a softening effect so it doesn't look like a hard brush did it. So let's see here. If we're going to commit, we might as well commit. Get a little bit back here. We can use a bigger brush now to get right through here. And again, I'm just rushing through this. This is about methodology, not this exact photo. Now, what I've learned too is the clarity tool looks good on some clothing. If you want to go ahead and play with that clarity toolbar after you have brushed up the image, feel free to do that. I mean, worst case scenario, you just switch it back. That is literally the worst case scenario. Alright, and then I must have done a separate brush. Let me see what I got here. Woo! Computer's not liking this edit no more. Alright. Oh yes, around the neck. So that's looking 110 times better. The last thing I would do is, now that the teeth look so white and the dress looks so white, I'd go let's go a tad, just a pinch more on those eyeballs. So let's see here. Now you can either do a third brush on them or you can alter one of the other brushes. I'm going to try starting with altering one of the other brushes. And I'm going to find out which one. There we go. Didn't affect this one because, again, that one already looks like it's got some stuff going on there. That looks a bit whiter. We're going to zoom on out and see how that looks. So, wait for the image to sharpen. Boom! That looks fantastic. Now, you could do some additional skin softening or even adjusting adjusting the skin tone quite a bit, because that's personal preference and that's also a few extra steps, but it's the same methodology we use to whiten her teeth, her dress, her eyes, and like I said, a lot of it's that contrast between white and black, the light and darkness, that brings those details back in. So you really want to go in there and just hit the main details, and you want your whites to be white, your blacks to be black, especially right around the eyes, and it really makes those eyes pop. So again, let's go back and let's take a look at this original image. That is so much darker. That is completely unusable. Even when we just up the exposure, I mean, we compare that to that. It's a pretty huge difference. Let's do that. Let's use that fancy snap tool. So we'll do brighter, and caps lock was on, but that's fine. And then let's do, okay, I'm gonna have to do it like this. I forgot about the undo button. So let's do second edit. So now we got the first edit and second edit here. And we can even see, oh wow, I did it pretty dang close. Oh, nope. I actually like that second one a little bit more. Take a look at that again. Yeah, that looks a little bit more mushy. So I think I did a little bit better job sharpening the details. I'm still probably going to want to play with exposure a little bit more. I don't like how there's a little bit of that cyan in her face right there. Oh, I'm sorry, not exposure, treatment. And then let's take a look here and reset this, and 3.5 for that exposure. Create a new one. I'll just do brighter. So with a raw image, it captures all the detail in the picture. Now, thankfully with Lightroom, we can take all that raw data that look like this and pump up that detail. And sometimes you can just pump up that brightness and it looks great and your image is good. But there's other times where it looks like this, where it's splotchy. You lose a lot of detail and there's a lot of disadvantages to just brightening it. You got to do a lot more to the image than that, which is why we went through all those steps, spent all that time in order to get this image. And this is an image that I feel much more comfortable posting up on my social media after I tweak it just a little bit more. Social media, maybe even print it. I don't know if the quality would be quite there for print, for anything larger than, let's say, a 12 by 18, 12 by 20, whatever the aspect ratio is. But this is a huge improvement. If you like this video, let me know. Definitely comment me. I appreciate every comment. Like, subscribe, share to any other photographers. We're posting videos all the time, and I really appreciate you watching the video and interacting with them and being engaging. And I hope this really did help you. Check out some of my other videos. I have another one where I explain how I added some boomification to a wedding photo that my assistant took, and it really made that image pop, and it really made it a phenomenal image that the client liked very much so. Other than that, again, glad you liked it, and this is Curtis Crowe of Crowe Studios signing out. Toodles.